Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 13, Episode 12. Y'all, this was another good episode. I was thoroughly entertained from beginning to end. So without further ado, let's just jump right on into it and begin, because you guys know what I love to say, we don't have a minute to spare. We start off the episode with Miss Cynthia, honey. She is at home at her lake house, and she's with her soon-to-be hubby, Mike Hill, and her assistant. So they're just talking, going over some of the wedding details, and Miss Drew Sidora FaceTimes Cynthia. And so she's telling Drew all about some of her stress planning this wedding and how her mom's dress has not arrived yet, okay? So she's like, today is the 6th, the wedding is on the 10th, and my mom's dress is nowhere to be seen. So to say that she is a little bit pressed, that's an understatement. And don't you notice how every single time you have a big event, something always has to go a little bit haywire? And it's like, okay, I need this to be smooth. I need this to be seamless. I need this dress to be here. So I really definitely felt Cynthia's pain through the screen. So they're talking about that. And then Drew mentions how she's going to be singing Angel of Mine by Monica at the wedding. So then Cynthia's like, okay, that sounds good. So she just double checks with Mike to make sure that that is fine as well. And he makes a really snide remark about, well, I like Angel of Mine when Monica's singing it. And the way I was just kind of like, Mike, not you being shady, like I was really cracking up. So then Cynthia's kind of like, Mike, like, shut up. You know, she's on the phone, like, she can hear you. So then she flips the camera on over to Mike, and Mike is like, thank you so much, Drew. We really appreciate it. Can't wait. So then Drew is like, girl, are you going to Marlo's harvest event tomorrow? And we all see a clip of all the ladies saying, yes, they're going to be there. And Cynthia is like, girl, no, since my mom's dress hasn't gotten there in time, I'm going to be going dress shopping to find her a dress, so I will not be there. But you let me know how everything goes down. So we move on to the next scene, and we see Miss Kenya. Kenya is at home, and she decides to FaceTime her dad. And they're making small talk. And then the dad mentions how Brooklyn's birthday is coming up and how he wants to see his grandchild. And she's like, okay, you know, we'll set a time and a date for you to do that. So now Kenya pivots the conversation on over to her dad and how his 39th wedding anniversary was. And she's kind of in awe, you can tell, because let's face it, 39 years of marriage, that is a big feat, okay? To be able to put up with somebody for 39 years, that is a lot. So then Kenya pivots the conversation to her marital woes and how Mark filed for divorce in New York. And not only that, he is trying to get alimony out of her. And the dad is like, what? Like, he wants money? Like, oh my gosh, like, that's not good. So then Kenya goes on to say that Mark was embarrassed and upset by her trying to serve him the divorce papers. And I was like, first of all, Mark, you were being served at your own home, so nobody would have been privy to you being served. Second of all, you don't like this woman. It's clear. So why aren't you doing everything in your power to just end this as quickly as can be? Like, Mark is a sicko. And I was like, I can think of 10 more embarrassing things than being served divorce papers, okay? Like getting your car repossessed or having your credit card be declined while you're out. Those are things to be embarrassed about. Not being served divorce papers at your own home from a wife that you don't ever see and a wife that you don't even like or love. Like, you should be jumping for joy that she's finally trying to divorce you. So now Kenya's dad makes mention of the fact that while her and Mark have been married for 3 years, they've been separated for like the majority of that time. And Kenya makes a remark in her confessional that she actually did not invite her dad to her wedding, and she has some regrets about that. Then Kenya goes on about how she started therapy and she wants to get to the reason of why she chose Mark, like why she accepted such poor behavior from him. And then she says that she has been proposed to by different exes in her past, and she's never said yes to them, but she wants to know, why did she say yes to Mark when he proposed to her? Now, me personally, I believe that Kenya said yes to Mark because, you know, on top of him being a nice-looking man, I think that the fact that she was 46, 47 at the time, and the window to have kids is like almost pretty much closed, I honestly feel like desperation really set in because she felt like she was running out of time. So that's really why I think that she said yes to Mark. But again, I digress. Let me know why you all think that Kenya said yes to Mark. So we end the scene with Kenya asking her father about, you know, some advice about how do you stay married for 39 years. And he's just saying that you have to work with your partner, not against your partner, and how it's not you against your partner, it's you against the world, and your partner's by your side. And that's the scene. So now we jump to the next scene and we see Drew. She is waiting at a restaurant, and who should she be waiting on? It is Kenya Moore, honey. She wants to kind of clear the air between them and just see if they can be at peace with each other because they've gotten off to a rocky start, okay? So Kenya sits down, they exchange pleasantries, and for a second, you actually think that this dinner might go well. But the way it went all the way left. Drew starts it off by saying, I feel like you and I were building something, but things kind of didn't go so well. And then Drew mentions the trip and how she's not used to the fakery, I guess you could say, about how they're arguing with each other in one moment and then the next breath they are lovey-dovey and hugging each other like nothing happened. And here's my thing about that, Drew. I have gotten a little bit weary of you constantly bringing up the dynamic of the group. That's just how it is between the ladies. And I'm sure that you have watched The Housewives for years now, the way that we all have. So you shouldn't be so new to this. Like, you know how everybody gets down. I'm really getting tired of all this whining and belly aching about, well, you guys are always fighting and it feels so fake to me. And how do you guys smile in each other's faces while talking about each other? And it's like, girl, shut up. Like, I'm sort of finding Drew to be just a little bit annoying. So then Kenya's like, okay, let me just stop you for a minute. I was very disappointed in you when we were in South Carolina at that restaurant because it just felt like you were trying to come for me. So we see a clip of Drew saying something to the effect of, because you were telling the ladies, like, don't tell them what I said. And so Kenya was like, when you did that, you made it out like I was fake or something. And so Drew brings up the whole private jet incident. And Kenya was like, but girl, I wanted to tell them about that myself. I didn't need you to tell them anything. So then now, here is where I got confused because then Drew brought up Kenya bringing Brooklyn to the trip. And my thing is like, the trip has already come and gone. You're back with your family and your kids now. I don't understand why we're still bringing this up about how she brought her kid. Do I personally want kids at a girls' trip? No, I don't. But am I going to keep harping on it again and again and again after the trip is already over? Absolutely not. It's kind of like, Drew, like, you kind of pulled that out of your behind because that didn't really have anything to do with anything. So now they start going back and forth with each other and they're over talking each other. Nobody can get a word in edgewise. And so Drew starts singing, trying to be funny. And then Kenya's like, girl, why are you singing? So then Kenya starts singing and they're kind of being silly together. They finally stop. And I was like, thank God, because they were both getting on my nerves with that. So then Kenya is like, girl, at the end of the day, you asked me about an isolated incident that I really am not at the liberty to discuss. So, like, I don't really have anything for you. So then Kenya's like, you know, how are you doing, Drew? How's your family? How's the new house? Drew is like, oh, everything is great. We're great. Marriage is great. Everything is great. Then Drew decides that she wants to bring up Kenya bringing Brooklyn to the trip again and how she would have loved to get the memo because she really missed her babies. And I was like, Drew, y'all literally just got done arguing about this. Why are you bringing it up again? I was kind of like, now I would have been very annoyed if I were Kenya too. Like, that was annoying. Like, we just talked about this. Why are you bringing it up again? Like, that was just so stupid to me. So now Kenya at this point is like, girl, we literally just discussed this. Why do you keep harping on this same point? Like, we're not getting anywhere in this conversation. It's clear. So let's get the check. So then Kenya's like, waitress, like, please bring me the check and box up my food, please. Like, I'm just over this. So then she gives the waitress her credit card to pay for it. So then Drew was like, oh no, I can pay for my own meal. Like, me and my friends, we split the check. So then Kenya makes a really smart remark in her confessional about how splitting checks is for broke bitches.
Believe me. So I'm thinking, no, are you broke? Yes. No money problems whatsoever. That's Toni Braxton.
And I was kind of cracking up because I was like, you know, y'all are both doing the most over a $60 bill. I was like, when me and my friends go out, when I tell you our bill is high as the damn sky, I'm like, $60? Where did y'all go? And I was also chuckling at how Drew didn't want Kenya to pay for her because I guess it's like, when it's your friend who wants to treat you, that's different. But then when it's an enemy who is going to pay for your bill, it kind of feels like, what are you trying to say? You trying to say I don't have the coin to pay for my own $25 tab? So I guess I could see where Drew was coming from. Like, I'm not going to have this girl talking about she paying for my meal because I was broke or something. So I guess I could see where Drew was coming from. But I was kind of like, I mean, you could have just let Kenya pay for it. It was only $60. I mean, I know that you and Kenya don't get along, but I doubt that Kenya would be talking about you're broke or something. But anyhow, I digress. But I thought that was funny. Kenya boxes up her food and she is out of there. She doesn't even give Drew a hug. She's just like, okay, bye. And Drew is like, okay, I guess. And she's still at the table. And Drew kind of looked a little crushed because the dinner went all the way left. But I have to say that the dinner could have went a completely different way if Drew did not keep harping on that issue about bringing her kid. Like, that was just very silly to me. And I was kind of like, Drew, I think you have to take this L because that dinner could have went a completely different way. It didn't have to go left like that. So next we see Cynthia and Mallory. They are in the car getting ready to go dress shopping. And they're just talking about the wedding. Cynthia is stressed, all right? Sis is like stressed the F out because it seems like everything is going wrong. They have a missing groomsman. Somebody's shoes don't fit. The mom's dress still hasn't come, child. And then on top of that, there is a hurricane that's about to be touching Atlanta that weekend. So she is really nervous, to say the least. All right, she's anxious. So then Mallory is like, well, girl, aren't you just a barrel of good news? I have always found Mallory's little deadpan dry humor to be so funny because she's just so like, you know, dry. And Cynthia's kind of more expressive. So then Cynthia goes on to say that she actually never thought that she was going to get married again. And I remember when she had divorced Peter, she said she never wanted to be a wife again. And I said, girl, you meant you never wanted to be a wife to a broke man again. And I understand that. But Mike has that money, honey. So she said, oh, I will definitely be a Mrs. again. I know that's right. Cynthia thinks she's slick. She ain't fooling nobody. So then Cynthia goes on to say that, you know, she was in these streets for a minute, child. And then Mallory was like, girl, you really only dated 2 people after your divorce. And I was really cracking up because Cynthia really was acting like she was zipping it and zooing it in the streets, and she really wasn't making anything shake. So I was just cracking up again because I said, here comes Mallory to really just bring it on home to her. Her and Noelle have similar personalities, but I digress. So then Mallory gets an alert on her phone. She looks down and she sees that the New York Post, honey, the famous Page Six, has done an expose about Cynthia's wild bachelorette party, and it's all like threesome between the stripper and some of the ladies on the cast, and how there was girl on girl action. So Cynthia's like, wait, what? And so Mallory's like, girl, you didn't tell me what happened at your bachelorette party. Like, what happened? And side note, I was actually surprised that Mallory wasn't there for her bachelorette party, especially since Cynthia's never had a bachelorette party. I was actually really surprised that Kenya hadn't invited Mallory to the girls' weekend, because we have seen Mallory at events. Like, Mallory is a secondary character. We're used to seeing her around. So I'm actually kind of surprised that she wasn't there for the weekend. And she's newly divorced too, so that would have been a good time for her to see all the action with Bolo. That episode was so good, and I will not stop talking about it, okay? Do you hear me? So now we're at the next scene, and it is the day of Marlo's harvest event. So all the ladies come trickling in one by one. Kandi arrives first. So Candy's like, hey girl, did you see the New York Post today? So Marlo's like, no, like what happened? She's like, we made Page Six, okay? The news got out about Cynthia's bachelorette party. Marlo's like, wait, what? Like, come again? So Kandi starts reading it off, and so Marlo's like, oh my gosh, like, they got like everything that happened. So then next we see Kenya roll up, and then they start discussing the whole Page Six article with her as well. And then we see Kenya in her confessional saying that she believes it was an inside job, and it was definitely a leak in the group because, you know, the details, it's pretty much like they were right there when it happened. So next we see Latoya and Shamea arrive, and so they are like, okay, have y'all seen the New York Post? And so they all sit down at the table, and Latoya is like, girl, who leaked it? And so she's like, Kenya, was it you? Kenya's like, absolutely not. I don't mess with Page Six at all, so it definitely wasn't me. So then Latoya in her confessional says that she doesn't believe Kenya. She believes that Kenya is the one who leaked the story, because she feels like when you get on Kenya's bad side, she turns into Satan and she will do some crazy stuff like this. I believe that Kandi told Don Juan to leak the story. The fact that Kandi was pretending like she was adhering to this girl code, and then in last week's episode, she went and blabbed to Don Juan about Kenya being right, that kind of told me everything that I needed to know. We all know that Kandi uses her little candy-coated click to be her mouthpiece. That way she can still remain innocent, because it's like, well, I didn't say it, they did. Don Juan knew all the tea about what happened. So I really would not be surprised if he called up the New York Post and said, hey, I got a really big story for you. To be honest with you, a lot of people were not interested in watching this season of Housewives with NeNe Leakes being fired. So I would not be surprised if she said, let's leak this story so that we get some people and some eyes on our show every Sunday, because the Real Housewives of Atlanta viewership has really been waning, and seeing other franchises surpass them, I think that they got scared and they said, let's build up some momentum and some excitement for this season. Because when I tell you, I was not checking for this season of Atlanta either, but then when that New York Post article came up, I was like, oh, like, okay, it's about to get real, so okay, I'm gonna tune in and watch. And you guys know that I have been counting down to the Bolo episode, so I definitely think that it was Kandi and her team who leaked the story to draw some more viewership to the show, because they want to keep their spots. They want to keep the show on. They want that money to keep coming in. So yeah, I think it's Kandi. Like I said, Kandi is not this innocent little lamb that she tries to portray. But I digress. So next, LaToya brings up Tanya fleeing to Canada, and she's nowhere to be found. And they were saying that Tanya quit after the whole Bolo episode. I'm like, Tanya, way to incriminate yourself even more. I don't know. I just kind of feel like Tanya's making herself look worse by leaving and quitting the show abruptly. Like, come on, girl. Like, what kind of message do you think that that's sending out? Now we're really like, oh, her and Portia were definitely in there having a good old time. But Tanya has never given me the sharpest crayon in the box. So then we see Kandi FaceTime Cynthia. And Cynthia's at the dress shop with Mallory. And they go on to asking her about, has she signed the prenup? And so she's like, well, actually, no, we don't have the prenup, girl. And so Kandi and them are like, wait, what? Marlo makes a joke like, sis, you better call up Mama Joyce, because you know that Mama Joyce don't play when it comes to her daughter's money. So they're all laughing. And then Kenya's like, girl, you better stop playing around. They're all just like, girl, get that prenup. Now, Cynthia, like I said before, you think you're so slick. You think we don't see you. I get it. Cynthia's like, I'm not trying to sign a prenup, like, especially since he has more, because I'm trying to take half if and when we get divorced. But here's the thing, though. You just never know, because what if by the off chance Cynthia ends up making more than he does and then they get divorced? Now he wants half of her money. She's going to be feeling upset like, damn, I should have signed a prenup. And people should not be afraid of prenups. Like, you can make prenups work for you. You can still cash out with the prenup. You know how many clauses you can put in that thing? You could say, after 1 year of marriage, I want $1 million. You know, 5 years of marriage, I'm getting a guaranteed of $10 million. If I pop out one kid between now and 5 years, I'm going to get this. If you cheat on me, I'm going to get half. If you do X, Y, Z, if you start doing drugs or something, I can still get a good chunk of your money. So you can make a prenup work for you. So I'm like, Cynthia, stop playing. Protect yourself just in case by the off chance that you make more than him. So, but I understand though, Cynthia's kind of hesitant. Like, no, he making more, he has more, I want half. I see you, sis, I see you. And so when she hung up the phone with all of them, we hear her say, you know what, I'm gonna just do a post-nup. And I was like, Cynthia, you are so slick. You're not doing any nup at all. So next we see the ladies get on one of those hay rides, I guess. Is that what it is? Let me know down in the comments. So anyhow, they are just riding around and they start talking and just joking around. And the topic of the dinner between Kenya and Drew comes up. And they're like, oh yeah, how was y'all's dinner? Did y'all resolve anything? Was it good? And they're all kind of like, Kenya's like, yeah, our dinner ended very early. And so they're just kind of like, oh Lord, like what happened? And Drew was like, yeah, it did end kind of early, like, and I don't really know why. And it's like, Drew, you kept talking about how she brought her daughter on the trip, like, cut it out, girl. You know why the dinner ended early. It was a lot of stupidness. Nothing got resolved and y'all weren't getting anywhere. You kept bringing up the same sorry point. It was just kind of like, enough. Kenya also brings up that when she met up with Drew at the restaurant, she saw and heard Drew doing like vocal exercises. And Drew was like, well, I was waiting and I'm a singer and that's what you do. Like, you do that. And she's like, Kandi, don't you do that? And Kandi was like, girl, I'm not doing any vocal exercises when I'm out in public, especially not at a restaurant. So they're all teasing her and making noises. We also find out that Portia is terribly late because she got lost, okay? She said that she drove past 2 outlet malls. She also drove past Zamunda.
You know what? It's too much.
she was supposed to be there like an hour and a half ago and she's still just driving around. She's lost. So then they get off the little hayride or truck, whatever it is. Y'all correct me down in the comments. I think they were doing like a hayride, right? That's what it was. I don't know why I'm so confused about it, but whatever. Just bear with me, okay? So we see Kenya, Kandi, and LaToya. They all leave. They're like, okay, bye, y'all. This was fun. Shout out to everybody. So then Marlo's like, I'm going to wait for Porsha. And then Shamia's like, I'm going to wait too. And Drew says she's going to wait as well. So they're just talking. Porsha gets there. They give her a hug. They're like, girl, what took you so long? So while they're chatting and happy to see her, they bring up the Page 6 article. And Porsha's like, yeah, I saw that. Like, Kenya definitely leaked it. And so you already see that Porsha's face has just completely turned, like she's just annoyed. So Drew says that she was upset that Kenya was even doing the investigation in the house in the first place. And then Porsha says that she feels like Kenya is trying to keep poking at her. And it's like, I understand that you feel annoyed at her questioning y'all about what happened. But at the same token, y'all are grown women. Porsha, you pride yourself on being as real as they come. Why don't you just say what happened? Like, all of this pouting and being upset and hiding it and being so secretive is making it worse. Like, I don't know. I would never let anybody have the satisfaction of feeling like they have something over me. So it's kind of like I would have just owned it, like I've been saying in the past 2 recaps. I would have proudly been like, yup, me and Bolo had a really good time, and that's that. It is what it is, and nobody is going to do anything about it. So, like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I feel like Porsha's just making it worse for herself. But again, that's just me and my opinion. Marlo brings up how she feels like Porsha has been rather distant to her ever since her and Kenya have gotten back on good terms. And so Porsha's like, no, like, I, you know, am fine with you. Like, I don't have a problem. And Marlo's like, no, like, I feel like there's some tension. I just feel like you feel a way about me and Kenya getting back on track. So Porsha's like, no, not at all. And Marlo's like, you know, I just don't think that it's cool because I'm loyal to people and I would just hate for you to be treating me funny because you think that me and Kenya are back friends again. And even though Porsha was saying that she didn't feel some type of way, I definitely feel like she was upset by it because her face looked funny at dinner in last week's episode. And she even sent her confessional like, oh, really? Like, they're friends now? So Porsha did feel a type of way about it. So she's being very disingenuous to me about acting like, no, girl, like, I don't feel any way. You can be cool with her. Like, I'm fine. I've just been busy. I didn't buy it one bit. So they do a group hug and then they all leave the pumpkin patch. And now we see a short little scene with Kandi, Todd, LaToya, and Don Juan eating at Kandi and Todd's new steakhouse. And they are all joking and laughing about the bachelorette party and how wild it was. Todd is joking around about how they can't have no more parties because it gets real wild. And then Kandi makes a joke about how they weren't bumping coochies, even though that's what everybody keeps saying. And then the conversation got weird because Kandi then started pressing LaToya about Kenya. She was like, LaToya, have you heard any news? Like, has Kenya told you anything about what's going on with the divorce or what have you? And LaToya was trying to be a good friend, like, you know, I'm not going to sit up here and blab my friend's business. So then LaToya was just saying like, oh, well, you know, she told me XYZ. And then Kandi was like, yeah, she told me that too. And I was like, see, that's what I'm talking about right now. How do you casually bring up another friend's business, especially about a very touchy divorce and a custody battle that's very sensitive and personal? Why would you bring that up in casual conversation in front of mixed company? Like, that was not cool to me at all. I was like, I did not see the purpose or the point of Kandi asking about Kenya's business and what LaToya knew. Just little stuff like that really shows me that Kandi is not this stand-up, super loyal person. She's very sneaky And I was really like put off by that. I was like, wow, like why is she trying to discuss this right now? Like that didn't even have anything to do with anything. That was just very odd to me. But again, I digress. So now we get to the last scene of the night, and it is Kenya, and she is at her therapist's office. So her and her therapist sit down, start talking, and Kenya goes into how she has always picked like emotionally unavailable men and men who aren't transparent, and how she's always giving of herself, and how she divulges like a lot of her life story, but she doesn't get that in return. And how she says that it was really that way when she got with Mark. Like she was telling him everything and he wasn't telling her anything about him. So then Kenya goes on to talk about how it's always been this pattern because of her mother. And we all know the story about how her mother abandoned her, and she has always had this craving and this need for her mother to acknowledge her. And then Kenya lets us know that her mom gave her up after she was 3 days old to her grandmother and never looked back. And then Kenya says that she did not feel protected growing up. She felt like her family really didn't care at how her mother could be so cruel to walk away from her own child and not acknowledge her own child. She just felt like her family kind of protected her mom and not her. And that really broke my heart to hear that. Like, that is just so cruel and just so evil. And then to see that clip of her aunt berating her for trying to get her mom to acknowledge her and talk to her a few seasons ago, I was like, wow, like how can you defend that behavior? Like at the end of the day, Kenya is still the child. She doesn't need to be reaching out to her mom. The mom needs to be reaching out to her. And even if Kenya did continue to reach out to her mom a million times, she has that right because she's the child. The mom owes her an explanation, and she owes her an apology for such cruel behavior to abandon a child. Like, that's just really sad to me to know that she was alone growing up. Like, she didn't really have anybody who had her back. I couldn't imagine seeing a family member be abandoned by their mom and we all just neglect the child and just go on talking and laughing and joking with the mom like everything is all good. And we're just telling the kid, like, well, you know, get over it. Like, I could not imagine that. So anyhow, Kenya goes on to say that when she was a teenager, she began acting out. She was getting into fights. She was skipping school. Then Kenya goes on to say that she got involved with a man who was 11 years older than her when she was 15. And she experienced physical, I don't want to say the word because YouTube gets really weird about certain stuff and they will like flag you or whatever. So y'all know the word, but yeah. And I was just really upset to hear that. Like, I really hope that that man is under the jail, because how disgusting are you to go after a girl and you are a grown man? Just disgusting. Kenya then says that she's always hoped for a relationship with her mom, but then she always wonders if she'll ever be able to forgive her mom. So then the therapist starts talking about forgiveness, and then Kenya expresses how there's a pattern in her life of people who do cruel things to her, how they're able to twist it around and make her feel like she's the bad guy. And she says that Mark made her feel like she was the bad guy a lot. And Kenya starts getting emotional saying, you know, how can you not see that you're cruel? Mark is not able to see his wrongdoing. Like, that man has a disorder, okay? That man is like, he's crazy. So he does not care that he is hurting you at all. In fact, he's getting enjoyment from it. So I really want Kenya to find peace and really close the door on ever thinking that Mark is going to see the error of his ways. Like, that is a very sick man. So we close the scene out by Kenya saying that, you know, she's entering into her 50th year and how she wants to start this decade off by prioritizing her happiness and also giving Brooklyn the family that she deserves, even if it's not the family that she envisioned. When you finally make peace about how what you had in mind is not what happened, and you say, you know what, it didn't work out the way I wanted it to, but I'm not going to let that defeat me or get me down. I'm going to do it a whole different way and make it work. I think that Kenya is taking a positive step in the right direction. I hope that that divorce is finalized immediately. It just seems like it's kind of dragging on and on and on. And, you know, the best gift that you can give yourself is clarity. And I think that is a great thing that she's in therapy, sorting through her issues. Therapy is a fabulous thing, okay? It can really help you get over roadblocks that you just can't seem to get past. I think that therapy is great for anybody because it just helps you work through things and see things in a different light. You know, you get new perspective. So this was a really good episode. I enjoyed it. And thank you all for watching. You already know what to do. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys later. Bye.